Tales from a Forgotten Realm. Part 2. The Elf and the Dragonborn Went to Sea. Noah ran his hand through the mane of the white mare he'd purchased from a farmstead on the outskirts of Neverwinter. The beast was old, but the farmer had said she still had strength in her, enough to pull the small cart Noah had procured at least. The rickety cart held what few belongings he called his own, and his dear friend Mythrill. He heard a soft snore from behind him, as if on cue. He smiled to himself and looked up at the clear night sky. The stars twinkled above him like fireflies dancing on a lake. Sweet Saloon, mother of the sky, hear my prayer. Bless us on this chill night, and make this weary traveller's passage a safe one. He held his holy symbol with his free hand and extended his consciousness out. The metal stayed cold in his grip. No glow, no warmth. Mythrill didn't know, of course. At least, she probably suspected something was wrong, but she didn't know how weak he'd become. He sighed to himself. For the first time in his life, he couldn't feel his god with him. It was terrifying. The mare snorted to herself happily as he stroked his hand through her hair again. Just us three now, Dotty. The name had come easily, as the old mare had 3 brown circular patches running down her spine. The wheels of the cart rattled along the dusty track. The road to Luskan was a relatively well-travelled one, but mostly travelled by day. Noah had always been more comfortable travelling under the stars. The elven blood that flowed through his veins meant that sleep was a stranger to him. He didn't need to sleep, just meditate each day, and he could do that easily enough during the day. His goddess Saloon's domain was the moon, the night sky, and the journey. The moon was full tonight, but it didn't fill him with the warmth it usually did, and being on the move didn't bring him the usual comfort he used to find so easily on the road. He still prayed every night to the Silver Lady in the hope she'd hear him. It hadn't been one single action that led him away from her warmth. He tried to think back to his deeds, and he'd found them wanting. Noah knew he needed to make amends, and the best place to do that was the temple he had been trained. That meant journeying to Luskan and then a short trip by ship to Fireshire. It was the winter, so the trail from Luskan by land would be under thick snow and ice, so travel by sea was his only option. He'd always quite enjoyed travelling by sea. The night sky's reflection on the inky sea always used to make him feel as if he was dancing in the night sky with the Silver Lady herself. If he could not find his faith on this journey, or at his old temple, he didn't know where he'd find it. He heard a creak and turned to see Mythrill stretching her arms out. The sun had started to crest on the eastern horizon. How long had he been thinking to himself? Obviously longer than he had thought. Mythrill tied her red dreadlock-like tendrils up into a loose ponytail and sat round to face him. "Morning, elf," she said matter-of-factly. Noah hid a smile at her business-like greeting. "Good morning, Myth. Did you sleep well?" "Well enough, thank you." She looked around at the frosty countryside surrounding them, and pulled the heavy fur-lined robe she'd purchased closer around her neck. "Curses, it's cold, elf. When I agreed to come on this quest, I didn't think we'd be travelling to Icewind Dale itself." She shivered to herself. "Technically, we're not going that far north," said Noah. She huffed at that. "Well, it bloody well feels like it." He saw her close her eyes for a moment, and she muttered softly under her breath. Soft flames danced around her clawed hands, and he watched as she held the little sputtering ball of fire in her claws. She made a contented little humming noise to herself. "That's better. How long until we reach Luskan?" Noah looked at his surroundings and considered for a moment. "Another couple of hours, I think, give or take a few minutes here and there. We must be on our guard when we enter the city. Luskan's a damned pirate's haven and a dangerous place at the best of times, and this is not the best of times," said Mythrill. Noah nodded. He remembered. He'd been to Luskan only once, on his way south, and he was not looking forward to returning. They were likely going to have the pick of slavers and pirate ships for their voyage. Maybe a smuggler if they were lucky. Noah's hand naturally came to rest on Talon, his trusty sword. He felt the pattern of the eagle and the hilt under his fingers. The cold steel felt comfortable under his touch. He'd keep the sword close in Luskan. He may well need it before the day was through. The rest of the journey to Luskan went without incident, and soon enough the squat stone buildings of a port town lay before them, gripping the icy shoreline like desperate limpets hanging on for dear life to the harsh rocks. Myth, you may want to keep your hood up here. The Luskans don't take kindly to non-humans. I'll keep my helm on too, should cover my ears. Let me do the talking, okay? Mythrill nodded her head and pulled a rough linen scarf around her face. She pulled mittens around her clawed hands and lifted the heavy fur hood of her robes over her head. Noah nodded his approval. All sign of her dragon-like appearance was hidden from view. It was sad that such racism still existed in the world, but there are still places that non-humans were killed on sight. Luskan could be one of those places if you weren't lucky. Noah steered the white mare towards the outskirts of a city. Luskan was not an impressive city like Waterdeep or other cities along the Sword Coast. It was a haven for criminals, slavers and pirates, and its appearance did nothing to hide it. The cold breeze whispered of murder. The ramshackle gates were guarded by 3 thuggish humans. The largest of the 3 drew a rusty hand axe, spat on the ground, then walked up to the side of the horse. "What's your business, pretty boy?" Noah lowered his eyes in deference and hefted the small bag of gold he was carrying towards the big thug. "Excuse this poor beggar, sir. Just taking me poor ma north, home to Fireshire. She's awful sick like, what with the leprosy, see, and she ain't got long in her." On cue, Mythrill let out a phlegmy cough. The thug quickly grabbed the coin purse from Noah's hand and then retreated back to open the gates. "All right, boy, Jesus, just take her through, and don't let her touch anything, God's damn it!" Noah nodded to the guard. "Thank you kindly, good sir. 'Tis fine of you to look out for a fellow Northman so, more than you gets down south." The thug nodded and spat again. "Aye, rotten half-bloods and fairy folk, a lot of them." He spat on the floor. Noah grunted in agreement as he tapped his feet on the flanks of the mare, who neighed softly and pulled the cart through the gates. Mythrill let out another hacking cough as the gates slammed shut behind them. "Welcome to Luskan, ma. Let's go find ourselves a ship." Thwack! The slight pain of the quarterstaff as it hit him in the side. He couldn't help but stifle a little chuckle. "Ma, indeed.